Hey traders, welcome back to another market breakdown. Let's dive into what's happening in the with the NASDAQ 100 and what we could expect in the coming days. Now, right now we are seeing some signs of a potential pullback as some of the top US 100 stocks are starting to show strength. This could mean that short-term buyers are stepping in, looking for value after the recent drop. But before we could, you know, get too bullish in a way, right? Here's what we need to keep in mind. Listen, the broader economic landscape is still shaky. Remember, we've still got like ongoing trade wars, uncertainty around inflation, and the overall market sentiment is leaning what cautious. So that means that the Nasdaq's tech-heavy nature means it's highly sensitive to macroeconomic shifts, right? And if the pressure continues, we could still see more downside. So what does that mean for us? It means that we need to watch key levels. If we get confirmed pullback, we're gonna look for resistance zones where sellers might see uh that might step in again, right? I'm for me preferably I'm gonna stay away from macro events. Any sudden news could trigger volatility. And listen, let price action guide you. Don't fight the trend, react to it. Okay, react to the trend. Don't fight it. Don't fight the trend. Now, now here's something important on the weekly time frame, right? We have a premium CV, sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency sitting up there. If the market is truly bearish, right, that level could act as a breakaway gap. This could act as a breakaway gap, right? So now you might be asking, what's a breakaway gap? Well, a breakaway gap is a gap that doesn't get rebalanced. Instead of price coming back right into it, it leaves it open and continues in the same direction. Now, if this happens, it signals a strong bearish sentiment in the long run, right? So that means what? If the inefficiency remains untouched, I'll be targeting the relative equal lows. Let me just do this. I'll be targeting the relative equal lows as my next level, as my next key level, right? Because that's where liquidity will be resting. Now the bottom line is, if price respect that CB and fails to rebalance it, which is this CB, right? And fails to rebalance it, I would expect further downside. But if buyers step in aggressively, you could see a retracement before a continuation, right? Because I love this rejection here. Beautiful, very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Let's see if we can get that rejection. Okay, now we've covered the weekly time frame. Let's zoom into the daily chart and refine the outlook. So let's go, my brother. Remember, look at this. Just want to point something out before going on. We also have this inefficiency. See that? And a volume imbalance, the new week opening gap. So if this is gonna act as my breakaway gap, right? I wanna see this inefficiency acting as my support, I mean resistance, right? But because we also have a volume imbalance, that means I'm not gonna pay attention to the wicks. I'm just gonna highlight the whole thing here. So on the daily time frame, I'm gonna see for key areas that could offer me support. The first one being the bearish breaker, right? Still is inside what that inefficiency resting right there, right? Okay, let's go to the daily time frame now. What the heck am I doing? There we go. There we go. Okay. Now, if the market is truly bearish, right? I'm focused on key internal liquidity and inefficiencies that could guide, price action. We have this range here. Where's the midpoint of that range? That could possibly be around here, right? Now, one of the biggest clues that we've got a bearish breaker. First of all, we have a high, low, high, then a displacement low, right? That just confirmed on our daily time frame, which lines are perfectly with the what? The midpoint of this range, right? That's a strong resistance area, which is here. That's a very strong resistance area to watch. Now, right at the midpoint, we also have a bearish order block, which is this one here, right? We have a bearish order block. Now, ideally, I want to see it act as resistance, preventing price from pushing back into that weekly potential breakaway gap. Now, if that happens, it could further confirm that we are gonna expect to see a very strong bearish bias, right? Now, here's another key influence: the same bearish order block, right? This bearish order block. It's inside the weekly imbalance, right below the breakaway gap. Remember the one that I showed you? It's right inside of it. Now, this adds even more weight to it being a major level for for price reaction. Now, as we head into Monday's session, right, my focus is on whether we close above the discount fair value gap, which is this one, right? If that level holds as support, it could fuel. Now, if it holds as support, right, it could fuel. Now, let me just. It could fuel a pullback now before any further drop, right? And let's not forget last week's rejection candle. So we could see if it breaks above it, right? You see something like this, something like this. Trace. What am I doing? Something like this could be this bearish order block, because I'd like to see it acting as acting as my breakaway gap, right? Then we start having that drop. Right? Remember, that week is a strong signal that buyers could step in around the discount fair value gap on the weekly time frame, right? So that means Monday's price action will be key if we hold the discount fair value gap. Now, if we do hold the discount fair value gap, right, I'll be watching for a pullback into resistance. If we fail and start breaking down, I'll be eyeing lower targets instead. I won't be focusing on that. That means we are really, really heavily looking for sell side, right? So now my only focus is, do we close above this weekly fair value? If we do, then I would like to see it acting as my support for my short term pullback towards the bearish order block, coupled with the bearish breaker block as well. Because I would really prefer to see this being treated as a breakaway gap, so meaning not rebalanced at all. Then I'll be targeting those relative equal lows. I think that's my long-term bias for now. So on the 1 hour time frame, we're currently trading inside of that weekly fair value discount fair value gap. Remember, I'm only gonna be targeting that premium bearish order block once we break and close above the weekly fair value gap high, right? Then Tuesday maybe make that pullback towards it and run for the new week, last week's new week opening gap. Because of this week's new week opening gap wasn't really that explosive in such a way, but we could still see a rejection back into it. But I don't think so. Nah, when was this? Yeah, making mistakes. So we're currently trading inside of that weekly fair value gap. Now I want to see how we trade around it today, right? I think that's it for me for now. I'll be tape reading right at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So cheers for now.